Okay, welcome to Wednesday Night Slides number 82. The bulk of this is going to be from 2011, a trip to Iowa. Yeah, Rock Island, Illinois, largely some of it in Iowa for Train Festival 2011. So let me get things rolling here. I'll make Zoom face right now while I find the slideshow. Where is it? There it is. And that. Okay. So far, so good. And away we go, I think. There we go. You should be seeing the title slide.
We are. It is right there.
Excellent. And once again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself during the program. Just be sure to mute yourself again when you're finished asking your question. We're going to start off with a visit to the Baltimore Streetcar Museum last Saturday. The museum had its photography day that was coordinated by Bill Monahan, and we had a lot of fun down there despite some cloudy weather. Star of the show was Philadelphia PCC 2168. It has been restored. It's running in Baltimore. It was paid for by the Friends of Philadelphia Trolleys. The Friends group owns no equipment. They raise money to restore Philadelphia equipment at other museums, and Baltimore's been one of the friendlier places they have gone to. So here we see the 2168 in the Gulf oil paint scheme, so-called because of the orange and blue, white, with a Baltimore PCC trailing it. The museum has about a mile of track. The car next to the Baltimore PCC is a car that originally ran for United Railways in Baltimore. Obviously, it's a predecessor to the PCC. We found just a little bit of fall color here and there. And let me just get into full zoom mode here. Well, I got a chance. I figured out a way to actually call up the chat so I can keep an eye on it while I'm actually showing the slides here. So we found like one tree that had color in it still. This is the loop at the end opposite of the museum's visitor center. And we had a modest sized group, probably around a dozen people, maybe. So we were able to really take our time and do shots like this. Their substation has a mural painted on two sides of it. So we posed this car with the one side of the mural and then the other side. We also had out open car number 417, which I'll get to in a few minutes here. And the museum's volunteers and another couple of people did some reenacting for us, posing in the scenes. The big green car, that's a former Philadelphia snow sweeper. Still a little bit early for snow. So the two Philly cars are seen here together. And our reenactors are waving to the trolley operator. The Christmas lights were lit. Here we have a purple dinosaur next to the Baltimore PCC. And the car barn that they currently have. The museum is now in the process of acquiring a former Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad roundhouse that sits right along their line. Once all the paperwork is done, there's a ton of work that needs to be done on the roundhouse. It's in rough shape, but it's city owned currently. But eventually the museum will move out of here. They're going to build a larger car barn, plus have the roundhouse to store their equipment in. So when it got dark, we did some night shots. And when we're finished with the Philly PCC, we used the Baltimore one. Going overhead there is the former Baltimore and Ohio main line, now CSX's main line, the one that goes from Washington up to Philadelphia. Here's that open car, possibly one of the oldest trolleys in operation in the country. This car actually has had 3 lives. It started off as a horse-drawn car in the earliest days of Baltimore streetcars. It went from a horse-drawn car and became a cable car during the very short era when cables were used to power the streetcar lines. Then ultimately, it was converted to overhead electric. So here's Santa Claus running the car. And one of the reenactors brought along some props, milk crate, case of soda bottles. And we finished off with a shot of all the volunteers who came out and made things possible that night. It was a good event, really good event. We're going to break away from trains just for a few seconds here and do some South Jersey scenes that I've recently captured. I found myself down in Atlantic City and stopped by the Barnegat Lighthouse. Absecon Lighthouse. Barnegat.
Absecon.
Absecon. Barnegat's further up the shore. That's the keeper's house. Here's the lighthouse itself. Now, I had to shoot everything from outside the fence because the lighthouse is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I was there on a Tuesday. And then while I was in Atlantic City, I scooted over near the convention center and the train station. And in the tea garden of the Sheraton, there is a statue of Burt Parks. You may remember Burt Parks from his years and years of hosting the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City. He was eventually let go, probably around the late 80s, early 90s, because he was too old. They needed a younger person to host the pageant. But you can actually stick your head up underneath the crown there. And if you look carefully at the palm of his hand, his left hand there, you see a little sensor there. If you stick your head up there under the crown where the sensor is, Burt will sing, "Here She Is, Miss America" to you. And then not far from Atlantic City in Pleasantville, there's this old Studebaker dealership. Most recently an antique store, now closed boarded up. I remember going by this place when I was a kid. And back then it was an antique store. It hasn't been a Studebaker dealership for eons. Um, and I actually may have gone in here with my folks back when it was an antique store. There's no real danger of it being demolished. The town knows what it is and knows that it's significant. But there hasn't been any effort to do any kind of formal preservation on it yet. And then in Hamilton, I've mentioned before on slideshows that here in the East, especially, as the cities have grown, they've outgrown their old Tin Man water tanks. So to find a Tin Man still in use by a municipality is getting kind of rare. But Hamilton has a real nice Tin Man tank. Now for the main course. We're going to head for Train Festival 2011 out in Rock Island, Illinois. Back in the month of July. It was stinking hot. Stinking hot. As I often do, I stop for lunch on the way out west at Cove, Pennsylvania, near Harrisburg. Got one train there, this Norfolk Southern train. That was my only shot on the first day of traveling out there. Woke up the next day in the Chicagoland area, Joliet to be precise, and got the Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern out switching in their yard there with their orange SD locomotives. But then I quickly pushed west and got out to Bureau, Illinois, onto the Iowa Interstate. Iowa Interstate played a key role in Train Festival. Most of the excursions ran over this railroad. And some tools of the trade in Bureau. When I got to Rock Island, a train was coming into town, eastbound, coming across the government bridge. And then I went over to Nahant Yard on the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern, which is actually on the outskirts of Davenport. This real nice roundhouse scene was there. To get it, it required a little bit of creative access to get to the shot. Real nice shot, though. While we were back here, a few of us went back in here. An employee showed up, friendly guy, but he's like, I know what you guys are up to. Says, you really can't be doing this. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry. By this time, the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern it was a wholly owned subsidiary of Canadian Pacific. And by this time, it had been pretty much folded into Canadian Pacific. But a lot of their power was still out and about. Here's one of their leased locomotives passing a Union Pacific freight. We're over in Clinton, Iowa right now in this shot. And the Archer Daniels Midland Mill in Clinton. It's got a couple of Jeeps, one of which has lost its short hood. Union Pacific distributed power unit actually pushing a coal train. In the background is the bridge over the Mississippi River. And here comes our IC&E train with leased locomotives. We chased them down onto this public road into the Archer Daniels Midland plant. And while we were waiting for the train to get here, it was crawling. It took a while for him to get here. While we were waiting for him, the security guard came out and said, You can't be taking pictures here. I'm like, well, is this a public road? He goes, yeah. I said, well, then leave us alone. Get out of here. This kind of threw him off. He tried to call his supervisor. Um, but the train went by. We hopped in our cars and just left. And then this is one of the shots that I haven't been able to identify the location yet. The Union Pacific stack train. I take no notes. It comes back to haunt me every now and then. Well, a lot of the time. But I will eventually figure out where this is, even though there's not many clues in the photo. Next day, we're back on Iowa Interstate. This is at Iowa City, a train crossing the Iowa River. And here's the yard in Iowa City. So we take off after him and chase him across eastern Iowa. This is going by the Super Sweet Feed Mill in Downey. And this is all former Rock Island trackage. So here he is going by the former Rock Island Depot in West Liberty. I guess he stopped to switch here. So I got several different angles in West Liberty. This is just around the corner from the depot, going by the elevators there. And then in Moscow, crossing over the Cedar River. Past the elevators at Walcott. And crossing the government bridge into Rock Island. And here he is at the Iowa Interstate's yard in Rock Island. We still had time to go, kill here in the day. So we headed over to the Mississippi River and Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern, another set of leased power going along the Mississippi. This is near Princeton, Iowa. This is their sister railroad, Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern. And this unit here actually ran in South Jersey. The 3800 is actually former Pennsylvania Reading Seashore Lines, GP 38, number 2007. This is in Comanche, Iowa. Caught up with a BNSF freight.
Nice shot, Steve.
Thanks. And then found another IC&E train to chase around. I sometimes have difficulty getting shots on short lines. The trains don't really line up where I am sometimes, but I did really well on this trip with the IC&E. And then right about sunset, this train is coming into Davenport across the river from Rock Island, train heading west at sunset. Next morning, found this UP freight sitting still somewhere. Once again, another shot. I need to figure out where it is. And IC&E. And then we headed over to Burlington, Iowa for some action. Got BNSF there, going through some really neat brick buildings in Burlington. Another train. And then Amtrak made an appearance. And then we went over to the Burlington Junction Railroad, which has a very rare Alco C415. Bit of an unusual locomotive with its center cab. Unfortunately, it was up and running, but it wasn't actually moving it around. They were using this leased locomotive that day. And then found this old Sioux Line Jeep, high nose Jeep, relayer for the IC&E. Every grain elevator has a switcher. And then back over to Nahant Yard, now shooting just from the road, since we got tossed out there a couple days earlier. Another little critter. And back onto the IC&E again, with a fairly ratty ex-Canadian Pacific locomotive leading. We circled back and found that high-nose Jeep, ex-Sioux Line Jeep, actually working. And then they broke the power apart, and the second unit was this Sioux Line switcher, still in pure Sioux Line paint. Of course, Sioux Line is also a part of Canadian Pacific, like the IC&E is. It's all one big happy family now. Then came the big day. Iowa Interstate was sending both of its 210-2 QJ Chinese-built steam locomotives from Iowa City over to Rock Island on a freight. This business train was made up in the yard as well. But here are the two QJs ready to go. And coming out of Iowa City. This was actually a revenue freight train. It would normally run, but it would be pulled by diesels on normal days. But since the freight and the QJs both had to get over to Rock Island, they ran the freight with steam. So it remains the biggest revenue freight train I've ever seen, powered by steam locomotives. This is back at the Super Sweet elevator in Downey, crossing the river at Moscow. This is in Wilton, Iowa. The two QJs, they were built in the mid-1980s, and they came to the United States in 2006. Iowa Interstate's president, Henry Posner III, was instrumental in bringing the QJs stateside. Coming in the Walcott.
Nice shot, Steve.
Thanks, Chris. And finally crossing the government bridge into Rock Island. Once he was clear, a freight with Kansas City Southern Power was heading out. After it crosses the government bridge, it gets into Davenport, Iowa, and then it goes down this little stretch of median running down 5th Street in Davenport. Back over to Rock Island. Things are getting ready for Train Festival at this point, because here comes nickel plate 765 to Train Festival. This is probably near Moline, one of the Quad Cities. The Quad Cities are Rock Island, Davenport, Moline, and Bettendorf. And this is in Moline. And arriving at Rock Island. Like I said, I did surprisingly well with the IC&E on this trip. Another one of their freights coming in. Meeting Union Pacific Freight. And the chase was on. We wound up back at Nahant Yard again, once again shooting from the street, so we'll get tossed out again. And then here's the photo line set up for the arrival of the freight at Nahant Yard. Next day was Train Festival. I was working the tent for Carson's Publications, our table there. Across from us was the Kalmbach table. Here we have Trains editor, the late Jim Wren, on the left, and at the time, the editor of Classic Trains, Rob McGonigal, on the right. Out in the yard, Amtrak had sent 2 locomotives. They were actually the power for the train set for the excursions. The excursions ran with passenger equipment from the Friends of the 261 group, but needed head end power and to move. So Amtrak provided 2 of their 40th anniversary locomotives, including the lead one here in the original Amtrak pointless arrow paint scheme. Iowa Interstate's 2 Chinese locomotives, they've got them done in different versions now. Well, they did at the time. They've both left the Iowa Interstate roster since. One of them had been Americanized by changing the headlight around, getting rid of the red drivers. But this is one here, the 7081, still has its Chinese look, with the 2 headlights in the front, the big red pilot, and if you see up from the side, the drivers are painted red as well. Tried to do a night photo session that night. Didn't go very well. Big thunderstorm came in. And we had to cancel the night photo session. Next morning, 765 was on a trip from Rock Island to Bureau Junction. Here it is going through Moline with the passenger consist in tow. I had to work the sales table, so I couldn't chase this as much as I would have liked to. I was saving up my my brownie points for later in the weeks. I needed them for something else. I've shot the 765 a few times elsewhere, so I did what I could with it. Going past the elevators in Mineral. And back at Moscow. And then arriving back at Rock Island. That night we did our night photo session. This one didn't get rained out. 765 was there. The Illinois Railway Museum sent over its Burlington Zephyr train set. Beautiful train set, all stainless steel. E5 locomotive on the nose, on the point. And of course, the stainless steel cars built by the Budd Company in Philadelphia trailing it. All this night photography stuff was lit using like constant highway construction lights, just floodlights, light everything up. We did a few different shots and we got kind of bored, so we set this kind of a funny scene here. The engineer in this shot is actually a friend of mine, the late Frank Ferguson. He just passed away this year. Next day, I pretty much worked the sales table all day. Once again, trying to get some brownie points for later in the week. But some of the steam action that was there included the Leviathan from Clokey Locomotive Works. This locomotive is now at the Star Barn in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Illinois Railway Museum also sent its Chicago Northwestern F7. You see it there on the left. John and Barney Gramling brought both of their small steam locomotives. Lehigh Valley Coal number 125. And Flag Company number 75. Most of this I could see right from the table where we were selling our stuff. And the other traveling tank engine owned by Scott Simons, the Visco 6. You see that trailing here. I did break away just for a couple of minutes. The excursion that day was powered by the Chinese liveried QJ. So I ran over to Davenport and got it on the median running on 5th Street. You can see the red drivers in this photo here. And then the train going away had a diesel in the back end for the return move. And then another night photo session that night. Things were arranged a little bit differently, so we got some different angles. The Leviathan, along with IRM's Chicago Northwestern F7. A Burlington switcher, along with a B&SF diesel. And two completely different eras on the Burlington. B&SF, Burlington Northern and Santa Fe, and the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, Nebraska Zephyr set. And just for good measure, add the Chinese QJ to it. Iowa Interstate sent over its Rock Island heritage locomotive. As I said, most of Iowa Interstate is on former Rock Island trackage rather. Here's why I was saving my brownie points. The Nebraska Zephyr was making a round trip at the Bureau Junction. I really wanted to chase this. I had seen the 765 out on the road before, didn't need to chase it, but to get the Nebraska Zephyr out in the wild was fairly rare. So I went after that and chased it. Here it is, leaving Rock Island and going through Moline. And at Mineral. And Bureau Junction. And the depot at Bureau Junction. And then the return trip back at Mineral again. Then, of course, after chasing it all day in the clouds, we get back in the Rock Island and the sun pops out. So this is my view from the sales table looking out.
Nice shot, Steve.
Thanks. Those giant fans came in handy because it was scorching hot in the tent. But that was the last day of Train Festival. From there, it was time to pack up and head for home. I hopped in the car, and then next day I was in Chicagoland. Here I am at near 18th Street in Chicago. Sears Tower in the background. This string of private cars came through, being switched in Chicago. They may have been at Train Festival and were on the way back home again. 16th Street Tower, along the former Rock Island. This tower closed, I think, just this year. It may not even be standing anymore. They were going to be in a hurry to demolish it. Rumor has it the only thing keeping it up were the termites were holding hands. More Metra power. Not far away is Amtrak's 18th Street facility. This facility has a driveway up the east side of it. And the few times I've been here, if you drove up that driveway, it's a paved driveway. If you drive up the driveway and behave yourself, no one says anything. Another train on the rock.
It's gated off now.
Is it gated?
Yeah, it's been gated for about 7 or 8 years now.
Okay. Another train coming out of 16th Street. Then round it back over at 18th Street. Sixteenth Street was good too. You know, you had to be up on railroad property to be there. But once again, that was a place where if you behaved yourself, the tower operator wasn't going to call you in. From here, I headed over to the very busy junction location of Blue Island. Numerous diamonds here, where a number of railroads cross each other. Here we see a BNSF train with a locomotive in the war bonnet paint scheme leading. CSX crossing over the diamonds. Blue Island has 2 train stations, both Metra. Former Rock Island is the one on the electric line. I guess they're both Rock Island, aren't they? One's electric anyhow.
This is the IC.
I see, you're right. Rock Island didn't have electric. IC and Rock Island served Blue Island. Thank you, Bob. I knew that sounded wrong. So Illinois Central Station, and then over at Vermont Street is the Rock Island Station. From there, I buzzed down to Homewood, Illinois, on the former Illinois Central, now part of Canadian National. Caught these 2 Grand Trunk locomotives working there. Grand Trunk also a part of Canadian National. And this is definitely the IC at Homewood. If you look back in the trees there, you see the tower still standing at Homewood. And then over to Tinley Park, this little fireless cooker is on display there. Real nice station. Plenty of Metra action there. And there's a little park next to the station. That's actually a statue of a former mayor of Tinley Park. Left Chicago, went to Elkhart, Indiana on the way home. Former New York Central Station in the background there, still served by Amtrak. And it's still in Elkhart. And then buzzed over to Berea, Ohio, in the suburbs of Cleveland. And got a busy spot here. Both CSX and Norfolk Southern go through here. At one time, there was an extremely busy diamond located here. The diamond is still there, but it's not as busy anymore. When CSX and Norfolk Southern split up Conrail in 1999, they made it so that the 2 mainline railroads didn't need to cross anymore.
Steve, those are actually connecting tracks between the former Big Four and the Lakeshore, Michigan Southern.
Okay. And BE Tower, Berea, has been closed for quite a while now. every couple of years, there's a rumor it's going to be torn down. Every couple of years, a front end loader or a clamshell shows up and everybody panics and thinks that's coming down finally. And then they go away and the tower's still there. So it's still there as far as I know. Many years later, I was here with a drone, and this town sits pretty much at the end of the runway for Hopkins Airport. It's only a mile or two away, but surprisingly enough, if you get all the proper clearances, which are easy to get, Lance clearances for flying, you can actually fly your drone up to about 100 feet here, staying underneath of the approach and landing zones for the airport. And here we see a NS train going through. And then from there, I drove home. Going to wrap this up with some Seashore heritage. NJ Transit has painted one of their locomotives into the colors of the Pennsylvania Reading Seashore lines, and it has been running on XPRSL trackage down here in South Jersey for a while. So I've been trying to get out and catch it, although it's been running on a horrible schedule. It's hard to get it lit. Here we see one of my first shots of it. This is at Berlin, New Jersey, coming from Atlantic City to Philadelphia. And then a few days later, I got it at Winslow Junction, going by the tower at Winslow. It's been on a schedule that puts it going up to Philly late in the morning and then again right at sunset. Almost impossible to shoot it with the good lighting. And the line runs largely southeast to northwest, going to Philly anyhow. And this time of year, there's never sun on the nose of the locomotive because the locomotive is always on the northwest end. While I was out looking for it, went over to the River Line in Pennsauken. River Line is our diesel light rail line from Camden to Trenton. The Atlantic City line goes overhead there in the background at the Pennsauken Transit Center. A little bit of fall color lingering on. But here comes our heritage unit. It's actually pushing here. I don't like to shoot it when it's pushing because the headlight is off. So it does push down in good light, but like I said, I don't like the headlight being off. But if you get around broadside, it's hard to tell the headlight is not on. And then if you go up on the platforms here at the Pennsauken Transit Center, this is a train coming from Atlantic City. This is the shot that's available there. And then back down to the River Line again. There's one shot down in Absecon that I would love to get, but it's only lit first thing in the morning. And with my luck, I would drive. It's an hour and 20 minutes away. With my luck, I would drive down there only to find out that the locomotive isn't on the train. But I was there in the afternoon with the sun directly over the shot and did this broadside of it, going through, pushing to Atlantic City, going through Absecon. The shot I was really after, though, was later in the day. He would make his turn in Atlantic City and come back out. And I wanted to get him coming over, coming off the, shooting off the Delilah Road overpass near Absecon, coming across the meadows. Then on another day, I got him going by the old West Jersey and Seashore / Pennsylvania Reading Seashore Line station in Hamilton. And regular NJ Transit train pushing to Atlantic City, going through downtown Hamilton. I've been waiting for the PRSL engine to get on that mid-afternoon cycle, because if it's on the mid-afternoon cycle, here's how the light looks approaching the new Hamilton station. Someday it'll get on the right cycle and show up at the right time of day here. and a train pushing to Atlantic City. And then about an hour and a half later, our PRSL engine pushing to Atlantic City. Now, NJ Transit did a real nice job with this. The front of the locomotive back to the meatball on the side, the PRSL red meatball, that's how they painted their GP38s, their last diesel power on the PRSL. And the long hood was completely black. So all you had was the meatball on the nose, the cab number, and the meatballs on the side. What NJ Transit did was they combined that scheme with the older lettering that appeared on PRSL's Baldwin S12 switchers and also appeared on the tenders of their steam locomotives. So we have the first third of the locomotive is GP38, and the trailing 2/3 is Baldwin paint schemes. So I got these next two shots kind of out of order here. Let me just zip real fast here to this one here. I got a shot there, that broadside shot, and I wanted to do the going away shot. I was on a too short ladder with a too tall chain link fence with my right arm pretty much impaled on those little sharp points on the chain link fence. So I had to free my right arm, turn around, re-impale my left arm, lean over the fence. By the time I did that, the train was pretty far away, going away here. So it's not a really good shot. So I thought, what the heck? It's a bad shot. I know what I'll do. I'll just play with it and see what happens. So I cropped it down and then started eliminating stuff. I eliminated some of the chain link fence on the right. I eliminated all the chain link fence at the bottom. I got rid of the light poles. And then for good measure, I digitally turned on the headlights on the locomotive. And then just to make sure nobody confused it for a real photo, I made it into a Photoshop oil painting. So that's my modified version of the photo. No light poles, most of the chain link fence gone, headlight turned on. So that's the original. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up. The next program is on December 17th. That keeps it out of the way of both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, which are both on Wednesdays this year. And that's going to wrap things up. Let me turn this off for the folks on YouTube. And